What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and it feels good to be back in the captain's chair. Yesterday we tried to do a video, tried to do something a little bit different, tried to tell a prison story while also drawing cartoons, and that really didn't seem to go over too well. I thought it was going to be a good idea. Not every idea that I have is going to be a good one, though. Again, I thought it was, but it obviously wasn't. Maybe it was the fact that we uploaded that video late. Maybe it was the fact that that video was 40 minutes long. I do apologize. People said, Joe, have you ever heard of editing? You know, the raw footage for that shoot was over 2 hours long. So to be able to take 2+ hours and get that down to 40 minutes, I felt like we did a pretty good job. Obviously not, though. Obviously not. And you know, all this really makes me feel is YouTube sure is a funny place. It really seems like the only thing people are concerned with these days is the mind of Jake Paul. There's a little documentary going on right now. And you know, it really gets me to thinking about jumping on that bandwagon. And not the Jake Paul thing neither, but possibly doing a documentary. What if... Here's one of those ideas that I have, and just hear me out. I need you guys to let me know if you think this is a good idea. What if we did the Mind of After Prison Show documentary, where I'm actually like filming my own documentary? You know, in a movie called Along Came Polly, there was a dude that did that exact thing. So that's sort of where I'm getting the idea from. The Mind of After Prison Show. Y'all let me know what you think about that idea. I think it's pretty solid. But then again, I thought that cartoon prison story thing was solid too. Obviously, I was mistaken. Moving on, today I want to share a prison story with you guys, and I already know by the title of this video, I was popular with the prison guards. I can already see the comments. Though we're just filming this video, it's not even uploaded to YouTube yet. I already know what the comment section's looking like. Joe, you was popular with the guards? Oh, I know Joe didn't just say he was popular with the guards. Joe was a snitch. Hey, y'all. Hey, Joe was a snitch, y'all. What else could you possibly mean by saying that, Joe? I know it doesn't look good based upon the title, but trust me, I can explain. And I've got a very valid justification for why I was. And this wasn't something that I was looking for neither. When you're locked up, this is definitely the last thing that you want unless you are. Serve it right there, like a little plate, like a server, like a waiter in a restaurant. Snitching. Unless you a snitch, there is no other reason why you would want to be popular with the guards. So if you guys are feeling like that's what this video is going to be about, you're perfectly justified to think so. However, please, let me explain. The story that I want to share with you guys, it took place back when I was 18 years old. I was young. A young little whippersnapper first starting to get locked up. And my God, when I was first starting to get locked up, it is hard for me to even fathom. Like thinking back, looking back at my younger years, like how I just went from 0 to 100 real quick. Because before 18, as a juvenile, you would imagine I was getting in all sorts of trouble, getting locked up, going to TDA, going to some sort of a juvenile correctional facility. That was never the case. And now don't get me wrong, I was most certainly getting in a lot of trouble as a youth. I was just never getting locked up for it. And I don't know why that was. Cause you was snitching, Joe. You was snitching. You was SNIT itching. Again, I wasn't, and there's really no way that I can prove otherwise. But I wasn't. I was not. And I put my life on that. But at 18 years old, I went completely off the deep end. Started getting locked up. Like, probably within 2 months, I was already getting locked up for the very first time for a grand larceny charge. Got out on bail for that because Dad came to court and was like, look, let me try to help him. Judge, Your Honor, let me try to help this young troubled kid that I've been trying to help all the way leading up to this point through his juvenile years that obviously hasn't been doing so well either. But Judge, let me try to help him. And you know, real quick, I want to say this. Special shout out to my father because, you know, this man put up with so much of my troubling years as a youth. He was always there. And, you know, that's probably why I didn't get locked up as a youth. I definitely did a lot of things when I was younger that I should have been locked up for. But my dad was always the one talking to the police. And my dad, he had a little bit of rank. And I'm going to be getting to that in this video. But again, he was always there for me and I was just always messing up. And you know, it's a damn shame because I came from a good family and I was just always doing the wrong thing. But somewhere along the line in my younger years, it was after I was 18 because I got in a bunch of trouble then and that's not when this took place. I think I was 19 when this took place. I would end up getting locked up for a probation violation and I would also end up getting locked up for a way worse charge, a robbery charge. At 19 years old, I was sitting in the jail facing like 20 years. And I knew this because my lawyer came to me right there in that bullpen, right there as I was being arraigned after I had been locked up, saying to me, in fact, the very first thing that he said to me, he didn't even introduce himself to me. Guerrero, is there a Guerrero in here? Here, present, it's me. I'm Guerrero. You're my lawyer? I'm looking at your paperwork right here, and you're sitting here locked up for a murder charge? What? That ain't me. No. My mistake. Robbery. Might as well be. They both carry a lot of... You know, you're facing, if convicted of this charge, a minimum of 20 years. I just need to let you know that first and foremost. You didn't even introduce yourself. I mean, we're just going to go bang right to it, huh? And legitimately... that actually did happen. I was sitting in this bullpen facing this bad charge, and this lawyer who was representing me, this court-appointed lawyer, came up to me thinking that I was facing something entirely different and even worse. Now, let me go ahead and try to explain how I ended up in this situation right here. This was bad. I know it's bad. You're probably hearing this saying, Joe, you was all sorts of just a horrible person. And I was. During this time in my life, 19 years old, I was out there smoking the crack. I was definitely dealing with a major addiction problem. And also during this time, I was running with this old head, this super old head, like 60 years old. Guess what he was doing? He was he was smoking the crack as well. But somewhere along the lines, we would have a dispute over what we were doing because we were both getting high together. And this dispute would actually get this dude so mad at me that he would actually go put this charge on me. When I got arrested, I couldn't even believe that I had this charge. This was the most made up BS that I could never imagine would happen to me. But guess what? I was in that type of a lifestyle, dealing with bad people, and this would be the situation that I would find myself in. Locked up, facing a charge for something I legitimately did not do. Y'all wanna know what I did? Y'all wanna know what I did to make this dude mad? I smoked up all the crack. You know, it's funny listening to this. I'm sure it's funny hearing this, but back then the addiction was serious, and also the situation that I found myself in was just as serious, if not more serious. But that's why I was sitting in this bullpen having this lawyer come up to me telling me that he thought that I was locked up for something totally different, even worse than what I was already locked up for. And I was in a jail that I was completely unfamiliar with at all, and all that I knew about this place was this was not somewhere that my little young 19-year-old white Junies did not want to be locked up in. I knew this was a bad jail. And here I was locked up in. Now, not only was I locked up for this charge, I was also locked up for a probation violation as well. And I tell you guys this because there was no way that I was getting out on bond. You know, for that charge there, this is the craziest thing about it. For that charge, that bad charge, on paper that charge looks absolutely horrible. Try to put that on a job application and see how many people are going to hire you. That is a charge that you don't never want to have. The craziest thing about it is I got a bond on that charge. They gave me a $25,000 bond, which I was never going to be able to make that. There was no way. $25,000, you had to put up 10% of that. That was $2,500, and back then that was like $1 million to me. Because again, I was dealing with addiction and I wasn't doing nothing good. I got locked up with 2 pennies in my pocket. They gave me a $25,000 bond on that charge, but for that violation, no bond at all. You're definitely not getting a bond on a violation. And for anyone who does so, those things come far and few between. There better be some extraordinary circumstances for why you is getting a bond. Here in the state of Virginia, you got a violation, which is also referred to as a PB-15. You ain't getting no bond. Take it from jailhouse lawyer Joe. I should know. I once was an addict. And also spent quite a bit of time locked up on many different PB-15s. Many of them. I'm in this jail that I'm completely unfamiliar with, and I am scared, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I know this jail is notorious for gang activity and violence and all sorts of crazy stuff. In fact, when I get into the first cell block, this is the most overcrowded place that I've ever been in. I'm in a medium custody cell block. This place is so crowded, there's dudes who are sleeping all over the floor, including 19-year-old little white Junie Joe coming up in that cell block. Hey guys, I'm new in here. Where am I? Oh, I'm on the floor underneath the toilets, though. There ain't no other room, ain't nowhere else I can sleep in here. Why I gotta sleep up under the toilets? Editor's note, I did not sleep under the toilet, just threw that in there for a little emphasis. I was sleeping on the floor next to other guys who were sleeping on the floor, and I'm surrounded by all sorts of craziness in here. Seeing fights take place inside of this cell block the very day that I get locked up in here. And all I was trying to do was make sure I wasn't on the receiving end of any of that violence. Dudes are screaming, ain't no sleeping, jumping off. There ain't even no privacy for the bathroom. The toilet is literally right in the middle of the cell block. How you use the bathroom like this? There's dudes using the bathroom, yelling at another dude completely across the cell. I wasn't able to use the bathroom for like 14 days when I got in there. And believe me, I tried. I would wake up in the middle of the night hoping that that might be the time I could get some privacy, but you couldn't. Because this place was like Walmart. It was open 24 hours. You had your guys that slept all day, and while they're asleep, the day shift is in there. Hey, yo! Hey, Iceberg! You got that? And then when the day shift gets off and they go to sleep at night, and then the night shift wakes up, and then they're the same way as the day shift. Hey, what y'all doing down there in Cell Block D, man? We in Cell Block. Hey, can y'all hear me? It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Who up over there? Hey, it's Doo-Doo awake. Hey, wake Doo-Doo up. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Doo-Doo's asleep. As should you be. But you're not. You're at the bars yelling. 4 cell blocks down. All the way at the opposite end of the hall. Makes sense. Makes sense. No privacy, no comfort, no peace, just chaos. 24/7. And you know what's crazy is I wouldn't end up lasting too long in this cell block. I think I would spend like less than a month in this super chaotic environment. You would imagine that the reason that I left from here was I probably got beat up, because I've got quite a few stories of that happening to me. But that is not what happened. In fact, what did happen was that the guards called me one day. Guerrero! Guerrero! Is there a Guerrero in here? Present. I'm Guerrero. You calling my name Guerrero? I'm actually kidding. That's not how I did that at all. In fact, because, you're in this environment, you have to become a product of this environment, this chaos. In this less than 1 month that I spent in here, I completely transformed. I completely transformed from the scared little white dude that I was to trying to portray myself as the not so scared little white dude that I was, who was somewhat living that thug life. Hey, God, they don't call me no Guerrero. That's me right there. They call me G-Money. G-Money, you better recognize God. What you calling my government for, God? God, what you calling my government for? What you want with me? You ain't pack my stuff? Thank God. Oh, my God. Am I going home? No. You ever heard that saying that, jail will change a guy? It will. It will. The guards call my name and they tell me to pack my things. B&B, Guerrero, or G-Money. Where that fake G-Money at? Tell him to pack up and come to the gate. B&B, Guerrero. Usually when the guards tell you B&B, it's for a good reason. You're either going home or going to prison. And sometimes going to prison could be just as good as going home. Because if you're not going home, you would much rather be going to prison than to be sitting in that jail. I pack up all of my stuff and I'm carrying my stuff over my shoulder. They let me out of the cell block and I'm standing out there talking to the guards right in front of all of these other prisoners. And they're just telling me right there on the spot. They're saying to me, you're being moved. You're not going home, so get your hopes down. Put your hopes down. Put your hopes down like your hands. Put them down. You're being moved for your own protection. What you mean you're moving me for my own protection? I didn't write no note. I didn't slide no note under the bars saying, guards, please help me. Why are you moving me? I didn't request this, and I actually have gone to the bathroom. It only took me 14 days, but I finally gone. I'm comfortable now. I'm right here at home. The guards tell me that I'm being moved for my own protection, and again, like I said, usually when something like this happens, it's because you've written a note. That's not what happened in this case, and this is even crazier. Somebody else actually wrote a note for me, and they didn't say, you need to move Guerrero, aka G-Money, for his own protection because he is scared to death in here. And they didn't say that. They said something close to that, though. They said, you need to move him because we're going to beat him up in here. You need to move him because he's having problems with all these other prisoners and they're going to jump him. Let me get this right. Somebody wrote a note saying that I'm not safe in here and that all of these other prisoners are going to jump me? Where are we going? Get me up out of here. If that's the case, let's go. I'm going somewhere better, right? I don't end up going anywhere better. In fact, I go somewhere worse. And this don't even make any sense to me, but this is just how it all went down. Not everything's gonna have a concrete, evident reason for how it happens, but this is just what happened. I go from being in this medium custody upstairs. I was on floor 6, which was medium custody at the time. They take me to floor 7, which then was max. Max? You're talking about where the murderers is at? Why am I going up there if I'm not safe down here? What makes you think I'm gonna be any safer upstairs? They moved me to max. And boy, am I scared. Now I'm in a smaller cell block with less prisoners, but now I'm in a cell block where every prisoner who's in here is in here because they deserve to be in max. Whether they've got like crazy charges or whether they got like a crazy amount of time, maybe violence, I don't know. But you know what? This cell block would actually not be as chaotic. And I think the reason for that is because these dudes had serious charges or serious time. So there was a lot more respect that was taking place in this cell block. Now, don't get me wrong. Dudes were not respecting me. I actually made commissary one time while here and they stole everything from me. I didn't know who it was. I walked out of the cell after I found out all of my stuff had been stolen. And I said, whichever one of y'all took all of my oatmeal pies, I wish you would tell me you did it. Oh, you did it? Thank you for letting me know it was you. Hey, please enjoy him. I didn't want no problems up here. And the reason for that is because I knew these dudes didn't have nothing to lose. So doing anything extra, especially directed at me? No, sir. I wasn't about to lose my life over a box of oatmeal pies. It wasn't about to happen. You may think that I'm soft, but put yourself in my shoes. What would you have done? Well, I was up here in maximum security, and after getting my commissary stolen one time, I didn't really have any other issues other than that. I'm pretty sure I probably made commissary a handful of other times, and I was watching my stuff a lot more closely. Get me once, shame on you. Get me twice, shame on me. That's how that saying goes. So I was always keeping an eye. Anytime that I had anything, you just got to be cautious, and that's what I was. But something very crazy happened while I was up here in maximum security, and it again would involve the guards. One guard in particular, who would come up to the bars outside of the cell block because you got the bars, then you got the cells, and then outside of those bars, there's a hallway where the guards walk down and the trustees and any other kind of staff like medical. They walk down that hallway on the opposite side of the bars outside of the cell block. But this guard would come up to the bars saying, Guerrero, Joe Guerrero. Is there a Joe Guerrero in here? Hey, God, they don't call me no Guerrero. That's me right there. They call me G-Money. G-Money, you better recognize God. What you calling my government for, God? God! Joe Guerrero? You're Joe Guerrero? I know you. I know you, Joe Guerrero. Hey, Tom, come here. Joe Guerrero, he's right here. Joe Guerrero, he's right here. What? You don't know? I've never seen you before in my life. How do you know me? I don't know who you are. Hey, you need to get away from the bars. I don't know who you are, guard. As this guard is telling me, yelling in front of all of the other maximum security prisoners, the other 14 of them, that he knows me well, telling the other guards, come look, like I'm an exhibit at the zoo. They've got the Lima exhibit open, Tom. Come here, Lima Joe Guerrero. You're like a little Lima in there. Or one of them meerkats, because you ain't no lion. Or no tiger or no bear. You a meerkat. I just be beating myself down. Self-deprecating humor to the fullest. As this guard is yelling and carrying on about how he knows me, all of the other prisoners are becoming suspicious. They're looking. You can't help but to hear. You hear everything that takes place in jail. They are probably looking at this situation like, hey, that dude right there, Joe Guerrero, G-Money, oh, he a snitch. Why else would the guards know who I was? Or why else would the guards know who he is? He got to be snitching. And see, back during this time, this is crazy. Back during this time, when I was 19 years old, snitching was not in style. This trend was not trending yet. The snitching trend, it wasn't going viral. Fast forward to me serving those 7 years in prison. Well, the 2 years that I spent in the jail waiting to go to prison, snitching was like PewDiePie status. It was like Jake Paul, the mind of Jake Paul. Straight 20 million views, making the trending page every time. Dudes was on it. But back during this time, when I was 19, there was still a code among convicts, so to speak. I don't know what happened between that time and when I got locked up to do the 7 years. Something changed. Yes, guys realized, why am I going to get locked up? Why am I going to sit here and do this time? I can just tell on Doodoo he be locked up down there in cell block D. And I can just talk to him every night at 4 o'clock in the morning, make him think it wasn't me that got him locked up. I ain't about to do this time. I'm about to go home. Hey, Doodoo! Hey, Doodoo! You awake? And just as curious as all these other prisoners were as to how this guard knew me and was like yelling my name like I was some kind of like I was somebody. I was curious about this as well because legitimately I had no idea who this guy was. I've never seen this dude before in my life. Never. I've never seen him, y'all. I wasn't telling, okay? I walked up to the bars and this guard says to me, he said, Joe Guerrero, I was in the military with your father. Served with the fine gentleman, fine father of yours. He's a great man. What are you doing locked up? I would have never imagined any son of Joe Guerrero's would ever be locked up. Thank you. Thank you for boosting the confidence here. Yes, my father, great guy. He really is. And you were in the military with him, that's cool. Everybody in the cell block, this guy, he knows my dad from work. He knows my dad from work. They don't know me any other way. Put down your pencils and other sharpened instruments, please. I'd never been in a situation before where a guard put me on the spot, put me on blast as much as this guy did. And also, I've never been in a situation where anybody knew my family. And not only was this a super uncomfortable situation at first, because all of these prisoners are looking at me like, yo, why does this guard know you? Joe, what you doing in here with the wire at? Joe, where's the wire? It was also an embarrassing situation because my father, he's a very respected and very successful dude. And here's this guy that, thinks highly of my father, who is a correctional officer now since retiring from the military, seeing my father's son, me, locked up because I'm a drug addict and also for a really serious charge. Joe Guerrero, I know your father. What are you doing in here? And you're at maximum too. It's a funny story, really. I was smoking crack and I got a robbery charge. Probably happens to a lot of guys. Now, even though I would be able to explain this story to all of the other prisoners, because they would be able to hear the conversation that was taking place between me and this guard, you would imagine that would get the heat up off of me from people thinking like a worse reason why this guard knows me and why I was popular with this guard. You would think that would be okay. Oh, well, that justifies it. He knows your dad, but it wasn't. It wasn't at all. Because now all of these other prisoners were coming up to me like, since you know that guard, why don't you ask him to bring us in some cell phones, tobacco? Look out, Joe. You got the connection. Obviously, you popular with these guards. Get that guard to do something, Joe. You best. Hey, dude, look, man. I mean, this dude, he's straight as an arrow. Dude, I can't do nothing. You not, man. Look at his mustache. He got one of them correctional officer mustaches, and he ain't gonna do nothing. He ain't gonna bust a grape. He ain't gonna do nothing. Dude, get the pencil away from me. Yeah, that was a crazy situation to try to weasel my way out of, having all of these other prisoners trying to get me to see if I can get this guard to bring something in. I knew he wasn't going to do that, especially if he knew my dad neither. Hey, Mr. Guerrero, I just ran into your son. He's where I work at the jail for some crazy stuff. He also asked me if I could bring some contraband in. That kid ain't right. That's a bad kid you got there. I didn't want nothing going down like that, I was already embarrassing enough. Being in the situation that I was. You would have imagined that these type of situations, hard-hitting situations, would have been enough for me to open my eyes and not continue to mess up. But they weren't. They weren't. For me, it took a lot more than any type of those situations. And with all of what I'm sharing with you guys thus far, it kind of almost makes me feel like looking back on this hindsight, that 2020 hindsight thing, it almost makes me feel like the reason that I was moved out of that chaotic situation down there in medium custody was because of this guy. Maybe this guy was doing me a favor. Because things really weren't worse in maximum than they were in medium. In fact, medium was out of control in comparison to anything that I was dealing with up here in maximum. So maybe this guy helped me. Maybe it was because of him before I'd even had the introduction to this guy that somehow it was because of him that I ended up getting moved closer to where he worked at. And while I was up there, he wouldn't ever do me any kind of special favors. He couldn't even give me no extra trays because everybody else would see it and they would want that too. So he really couldn't do anything for me. But there would end up being a situation where I would end up leaving from this block and going to suicide because of a female who would end up calling the jail after breaking my heart to pieces, my young little 19-year-old heart to pieces, and then getting me put down there in the padded room, naked. Well, it was while I was down there that he would definitely come check up on me, and he was definitely trays all day. I might not have no clothes down here, but I had a stack of taco trays or whatever else it was that they were serving. Every meal that was served while he was working. So, even though I was freezing being down in the situation that I was, that was good. At least I wasn't hungry. And to go ahead and wrap this story up, what would end up happening with that robbery charge that I was sitting in jail facing? I wouldn't be able to beat this charge because I had a court-appointed lawyer and he ain't going to bat to do nothing. But I was able to take a plea deal, which leads me to believe with the plea deal that I took, had I had any kind of a lawyer who was willing to fight, I would have beat this all together because, again, it was bogus. It was BS. But I was able to plead out to simple assault and petty larceny. Which I shouldn't have even had that because I never put hands on this dude at all. If I beat anything, I beat that pipe up. Bung bung. I wanted to share this story with you, as embarrassing as it is to relive it. It's a crazy situation, as was so many of the other times that I've already shared with you guys, and so many of the other times that, slowly but surely start to come back to me for whatever reason, whether it's through conversation, talking about this that makes me remember that. I enjoy sharing these stories with you, and I enjoy trying to make them humorous as well. Because even though I might crack jokes and laugh and try to make light of certain things, no matter how serious it might be, I hope that me telling the stories the way that I do can in some way impact somebody else's life and reach them. Because again, like I had mentioned, for me personally, my change wouldn't come until far later. But maybe through these stories, it can open the eyes of somebody else who needs to make the changes now. Hey, look, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please leave a like and a comment, letting me know exactly what you thought about it. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world, Never take a moment for granted and make the most of every day. Peace!